All right, guys, it is Monday and it is hot. I think it's supposed to be 102 today, and I'm gonna try to get this stupid shifter in Steve's car finalized. This has been the biggest challenge to make something universal actually work. So I'm gonna try to finish that out today, hopefully. And then there's lots of other little things to keep me busy on his car, but I'm hopefully going to get quite a bit done this week on this thing. I guess I'm going to get started. Finally got a little success. You can kind of see from where I'm unintentionally mopping my floor because I'm sweating so bad. It's 102 outside and it is, I don't have any airflow through this garage, so it's really hot. So I ended up modifying that bracket. I put a big curve in it. I actually had to lay it on a piece of paper up and down, and then I traced around it, and that was to keep my end angles on each end. And then I took it over the bench vise and bent it and stuff, and then went back and put it on the paper, and then had to, you know, keep bending until I got my end pieces correct. Because when you put a curve in metal like that, it's going to change the angle of your brackets on the end, or where stuff bolts to, and all that stuff had to be the same. So I got it modified, and then I had to shorten the all thread on these turnbuckles here. Anyway, it's all on and adjusted, and the shifter is now working, which I think is pretty awesome. That was a lot of freaking work, and now I have more finish work to do. I've got to I got to bolt the cross member back in. Look how bad I'm sweating. My legs are sweating. Golly. So I got to finish welding the bracket I made, the riser on the floor. I got to finish tack welding that all in. Man, I tell you what, that was not fun. Let me tell you. Oh, not a bad way to burn up a whole bunch of hours, I guess. For universal. So I only have a couple of tacks holding this on, so I don't want to put too much pressure on it. It works, but nothing's tight, so. Golly. Well, guys, the subscriber and friend Terry stopped by, and when he was backing up in my driveway, I kind of knew I had some goodies coming. So he brought this. He only had one. So this is a 15-inch Krager. I'm not sure how wide it is. It looks like maybe a 6 or something. But anyway, the wheel looks like it would clean up pretty good. The center cap is not in too good a shape. It might clean up. But this is the Unilug style. But he asked me if I wanted it because it does have a new tire on it. And I could use it as a roller, but I think I'm going to give it to Steve so he can use it for a spare for his car, which he doesn't have a spare tire well anymore, but you know, he could keep that in the shop, and then if he ever decides to go on a long trip, he could put the spare in the back. So he'll have to definitely get some shank lug nuts that fit that, but make a good spare, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to give it to Steve. I think it'll clean up. It looks like a brand new wheel to me, but that's pretty awesome. Well, the only seam sealer I had here was a 2-part, you know, the one that goes in the special gun, self-leveling, so it's real runny. That was all I had. So I put it around the base, and some of it run away, and it just kind of made a mess, really. So after I went back, after it dried, after about 30 minutes, I went back with the light and was looking at it real good, and there was a couple of spots I missed. So I put another tip on the gun and went back around it again, and just kind of tried to smear it around there with my finger a little bit. I let it run down in here real heavy, but where it's welded to the floor. So it's sealed. I will say that. It is sealed to the floor. I laid my newspapers out here. I'm going to try to basically just do this whole thing here in an aerosol bed liner, which I think is what they used here, because it's a little bit, it's like a light textured, it's not paint. I think it's a bed liner. So like maybe aerosol is what I think, because when I spray it, that's usually about what it looks like. It's a little dusty, but anyway, this part of the floor will be a lot, you know, darker and shinier than what this is. It doesn't matter, carpet's going over it anyway. So I'm letting this has been sitting about an hour. It still feels a little sticky, but I black etch primed that first, and then I came in and did that. But at least it's sealed to the floor. I'm pretty happy about that. Having a little trouble getting this stuff underneath because the transmission's still too close. I don't want to drop the transmission off the back of the engine. It'd just be a whole lot of work and a huge mess. So anyway, it does have a coating on it. It has weld-through primer, and it has black etching primer, so it's probably going to be okay. I tried to dust with the aerosol bed liner up in there, but I don't know how well I'm actually getting it, but I did shoot a little bit up in there. We'll see. So anyway, after that, I kind of want it to get completely dry. It's still a little sticky. It's really hot today. I'm surprised it's not fully cured out, but hopefully that will get hardened up in, I don't know, 30 minutes or an hour, and then I'm going to shoot on the bed liner. I'll try to keep my focus of the fan of the spray of the stuff, you know, pretty much on just what I did here, and try not to get it out here so it puts lines on it where the masking paper is. I guess I could pull that down a little further, but anyway, you get the idea. With the aerosol, you know, it's pretty heavy bodied, so when you spray it, it tends to go on where you're spraying it instead of fogging up everything. But I got to tell you, that's been a mess doing that shifter, man. That was a whole lot of work that I did not enjoy on having a car that the engine trans is installed and it's painted. So I got the bracket modified. This has been welded back, cut apart, welded back together, and then clearanced, rebent, and painted. I just used that universal gold duplicolor. This is the bracket that goes on to the shifter and then goes down for the turnbuckle to go to the transmission. So it has been a mess. I'm not a fan of the shifter. All right, so this is all dry today, so I went ahead and put the rubber grommet in here. I've got a spot for, there's a rubber grommet up here as well. So when I built this, I drilled a hole, and then I welded a nut, 832 nut, to the bottom side of this riser, and I have a little plastic loom clamp bolted on there. So this wiring right here, this is remnants from some of my Easy Wire installs. This is actually the solenoid wire, so it's the correct gauge and everything is what's in the harness. It's the exact same brand. So I crimped eyelets on the end, and I got them heat shrunk, and I have to basically I routed these two down through the floor. Then I get under the car, and I have very limited space to reach up in there and fish that through that loom clamp, and then over and out this grommet here. So I've got one done. Now I need to do the other one. But I put the clamp on there to keep the wires from just, you know, getting down and laying on top of the transmission. And when an engine when an engine's running, stuff kind of vibrates a little bit. The engine moves around because it's isolated. The motor mounts are isolated, so by rubber or urethane. In this case, it's urethane, which doesn't move around as much as rubber, but you get what I'm saying. That engine and trans is going to be moving. This is going to stay stationary, so I didn't want that rough cast transmission to sit there and rub one of these wires, so that's why I put the loom clamp on there. But anyway, I'll get under there and show you what I'm working with. So once I get the two wires routed under and then back out, I can go ahead and clean the car out, get the seats out, vacuum this out. I have to look, and I hope that I have the floor plugs for this. I'm gonna need them here, Looks like they're in over there. So I'm gonna have to put 2 plugs in here. And, you know, I'll have to vacuum the car out because it's got all kinds of crap in here. But I want to go ahead and install the carpet because I'm tired of getting in here on this Dynamat and these edges. It's getting crap all over my clothes and my body. So I have another section of Dynamat to put in over here, which I'll do after I put the plugs in the floor. But basically I want to get the carpet in here because I've got to figure out where to cut out the bottom of the carpet on the jute padding. I'm not cutting the carpet, I'm just cutting off the jute padding because it'll be about the same thickness as that. That way the molded carpet kit will lay in there like it's supposed to. But man, I tell you, it's not going to be fun because I have to go through all them little holes for that trim ring to put the boot on. So this is absolutely going to suck. So if you're going to do a floor shifter with carpet and all that kind of stuff, just be aware there's going to be quite a bit more to it than just bolting the shifter to the floor and hooking the linkage up. You got neutral safety switch, you got to make sure the wires are out of the way of stuff. So this wiring will be under the carpet and it'll go up behind the firewall pad, but I'm going to put some convoluted loom on there to further protect it instead of having just a bare wire under there to get chafed over a period of time. So I went back and thread tapped all these out again because I did put bed liner on the top and bottom, so there was a few of them that had some stuff in them pretty good, so I'm glad I went and cleaned those out. That way the bolts will go in easy. They're all stainless steel hardware, even the bolts holding the shifter to the floor, and all these little countersink 832s that goes all the way around that ring. So I've got to anti-seize all of that stuff. Man, what a nightmare. Let me show you that trim ring. This is why this is probably going to take hours just to get this done with this not great of a setup here. So this is the shift boot and ring kit that they send you, and this thing is like $60 or something ridiculous for this shift boot and ring. This is not even leather. So this is a stiff vinyl, like this is very, very stiff. Now they do have it sewn up and stuff to go on that shifter, but they didn't put anything down here for the holes for that trim ring. So I guess I've got to go in there and try to stuff this underneath the edge of that ring and get those holes started and everything. And what I think is really stupid, when that shifter is being pulled forward and back, as stiff as this vinyl is, it's just going to pull through that crappy vinyl. This is the most overrated, overpriced piece of crap I've ever seen right here. It looks awesome, don't get me wrong, but if that was, you know, leather or even a Lante, it would move very, very easily. But this is going to be stiff, and when that shifter's moving forward and back, see what I'm saying? It's just going to pull them screws right out of that vinyl. I mean, that's just dumb. That is terrible quality. So when you put one of these shifters in, that ring goes to the floor. And so for your neutral safety switch wiring, it has to go through the bottom of the car. It can't come out the side because of the trim ring goes on there. So there's a little bit more to it than just bolting it to the floor and calling it a day. There's a lot of fab time in just doing that, and I had to build a riser for that because putting a 700R4 in a 55 Chevy with the stock location engine and stuff, there's not a lot of room under that floorboard for a 700R4. The transmissions that came in these cars originally were not that big around, so just an absolute mess. Well, I dumped out my little tray of grommets and rubber plugs. Just a bunch of miscellaneous rubber stuff. There's a few used things and there's a lot of brand new stuff. And it's nice when I'm fabricating and making stuff, I can just dump that out and kind of sort through and, you know, use a caliper and figure out what size the hole it needs and all that kind of stuff. Luckily, when I dumped it out, which I really didn't need to if I'd have paid attention to the Danchuck packages, but there was 2 Danchuck packages and it actually happened to be the floor pan plugs that I needed. So there they are right there. They have the proper plugs in there. These are aftermarket floor pans, so these are not made quite correct. But what I want to make note of here is another thing that the previous shop did to this car, and they had to have removed the old one, so I don't know why they didn't reinstall new ones. This is really, really dumb. So Tri-5 guys are going to know by looking in this floor that something might be missing. So this is the body mount bolt right here, and there's nothing here. So let me take you out and show you what's missing on both sides, because they put aftermarket floor pans in here and didn't put the braces in. And actually I can see it from here, the bottom of that bracket over there, the bottom of it's rusted away. They didn't even repair that. That is not the kind of shop you want to take stuff to have it restored. So I'm inside my wife's 4-door here. There's supposed to be a brace that is shaped, you know, it's a little bit more than a 90-degree bend. It's over 90 degrees, but it's spot welded to the floor, which if you put a new one on, it would be plug welded. These are your forward floor supports for your body mounts, and they didn't bother to put those on. And they had to have removed them from the car. Wow. I'm blown away. Actually, I'm not, because some of the crap I seen on that car. Okay, so I'm actually going to take the backs off of the seat. These seats are extremely heavy, and I'm here by myself, so I'm going to strip this down, and then I'm going to climb up in the car, and I'm going to turn this over to where the softer side, I can try to get it out here. That way if I do drop it and it hits down here, it won't hurt the paint on the rocker. I've got my buffing apron kind of wrapped around the wiring harness to hold it in place and have it over there for a little added support here. But on these 2-door only bench seats for 5, 6, and 7, this is how you remove the back. It's very simple. So there will be a little E-clip right here on this part here, and you'll pop that off. I used a flat blade screwdriver and just got it under there and just lifted up on it, and it pulled right off. Don't try to just stick a screwdriver and let it go, because it'll fly away. So try to, you know, hold your finger on top of it with one hand and then use the screwdriver on the other, and when it starts to come loose you can grab hold of it. Then there's a bracket that goes on the seat right here, so you have 2 Phillips screws going in this, and this actually is dual purpose. So anyway, I removed the screws. This one goes up at an angle, so you have one that's angled upwards and then the other one's straight. But you'll remove that off of there, and then you will, which I've got it leaning on the deal right there, but you will lean the seat forward like you're letting somebody in the back, and then just pull this over off the pin and then pull that up at an angle, and there's a hook in there. But once I get the seat resituated, I'll show that. But anyway, this bracket serves 2 purposes, and this is a 2-door bench seat bracket only right here. So this keeps this from coming off if the E-clip comes off. This kind of makes sure that this kind of stays in place a little bit, but also it holds your lower seat shell on. That's what that that's what that screw hole's for right there. So your seat shell comes around here, and actually a screw will go in there. So I know they sell these reproduction. I don't have any experience in those. These are originals, obviously, and somebody's had them off and primered them, looks like. But, well, they're painted gray, but they're awful flat looking for paint, so it looks like re-primering out of the can to me. Somebody's, no, them brackets are a gray color, so. I don't know what brackets these are. Once I get it out, I'll kind of get a look at them and see how they are. There's 3 different styles of brackets, and hopefully these are a hard top. But I do have in my playlist under Tri-5 Tech Tips, there is a thing on seat brackets, and I show all 3 of the brackets that are available, because some of them are lower and some of them, you know, if you got long legs, that is a good thing to watch. But anyway, I'm going to get to the seat. Okay, so I folded the seat forward, and then I just pulled that bracket off of that. You got to give it a little tension. You can use a pry bar or whatever if you need to, but that one come off pretty decent. But it'll pop off there, and it's kind of fell backwards a little bit. And then what you do is you just kind of lean it, kind of angle the back, like toward the top back that way a little bit, and it goes into this hole right here. And I'll show you right here. So this has a hook offset on one side, if you can see that. It has a little hook thing sticking up there, so that's why you need to angle it upwards, is to get that unhooked. But it's not difficult, it's pretty simple. These are aftermarket covers that you used to be able to buy back in the day. I wish companies still made these, because it'd be an inexpensive way to do upholstery on a budget car. But you used to be able to get seat cover sets like this that were pre-made for the cars, that were like a universal pattern. They're not necessarily Bel Air, but anyway, people would just put them over their original upholstery, and this is no different. The original upholstery is still on these seats in this car. I can see it right there. I can see the cloth. Well, that's the duck cloth, but I can really see it down here when I lift that up. That's part of the original. But anyway, that's kind of neat. But I would say it's a pretty durable seat cover, because it's lasted this long and there's no rips or tears in it. You know what I mean? And the vinyl's still pretty pliable, which is kind of amazing. I guess it does have a hole there, but you get what I'm saying. It's not like a hole dug out in the middle where its foam's coming out, where people's been sitting on it for decades. But they didn't really fit a 5 and 6 seat, because the 5 and 6 seat has a wraparound that comes here, and there should be a seam here, and that should wrap around real tight like that. So, but anyway, I would buy a set if I could find them to put on probably the 2-door post. Since I'm on the seat subject here, showing some of the stuff on this, I want to give you guys another heads up on 2-door seats. So if you have a front 2-door bench seat where it's split in the middle, where the backs fold, and you've got one that is leaning back further than the other one, like the other back is, you know, hanging back further, which is usually the case, especially with driver's side, because it gets the most wear. You buy the new set of these. There's 4 of these, and they're cushions, basically, rubber cushions, and they screw into the seat frame. There's supposed to be one here and one here. This one's broken off. So if you need to adjust the seat, you would take this and put washers underneath it, and that would raise that up, that cushion up, and it will line your seat backs up. And I did have to do it to my car. I can show you here. Now I have a towel on my driver's side of my seat, an old beach towel, and it's basically just to make sure that when I'm climbing in and out of this car with dirty clothes, I don't get dirt on my seats. But you can see that my seat backs are even all the way across, because sometimes you'll see them and they're like this, and if you're OCD like me, that's just not going to work. So you would shim those cushions, and those cushions I think are pretty pricey. I want to say they're around 25, 28 bucks or something weird. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what they are. But anyway, just thought I'd throw that tip in there, guys. Okay, so Steve's brackets were gone, which when I first started going to his house and working on it, his car had bucket seats in it, Chevelle buckets in it, so these brackets were missing, and I actually had some in a slide tray here, and this is them. These are used ones, so I gave them to him. But anyway, this is a common question that I noticed on the Tri-5 forum back when I used to get on there, was what size the seat bolts are for Tri-5 Chevys, the factory style. And it is 5/16 by 24 fine thread. Now, Anyway, that bracket bolts on there because the seat brackets slide in, and then you set it down. You'll kind of lift it up in the back and slide it under, and then set it down, and it takes the bolts in the seat brackets themselves. But I have seen different length brackets in here, but from my experience, I'm not a professional at this. I'm just telling you what I have noticed. The length of the bolts are 3/4 of an inch. If you had 1 inch, I think 1 inch would be fine. They go into braces, so I think it's just fine. But anyway, these are 3/4 that go in here. Now, if you have some that are 5/8 long, and that is underhead length, that's what your measurement. Anytime you buy a bolt, it's always off of underhead length. So that is 3/4 of an inch from under the head to the tip of the bolt. So the 3/4 will go in here. Now this one here that's 5/8 is typically found in a 4-door rear seat back for a front seat. This is what bolts the seat back to the seat frame because the rear seat doesn't fold forward on 4 doors. But anyway, they're 5/16 by 24, and they have a star washer on them from the factory. And it's not crucial to have a star washer. You're just bolting a seat in the car, you know what I mean? But you can put 5/16 star washers on there if you wanted to. So in my case, you know, you could get some 3/4 inch long 5/16 by 24 stainless steel bolts, and then you could put on just some stainless steel star washers if you want to do stainless hardware, which I have stainless just about in every bit of my car. But anyway, this is an assortment of star washers I got from eBay for, like, I don't remember, 12 bucks, 13 bucks, 14 bucks or something. This is all stainless steel multi-pack. So it goes from number 4 to 1/2 inch. But you would typically put 5/16 star washers on a 5/16 by 24 bolt. So thought I'd throw that out there. Man, that floor was dirty, dusty, and just gritty stuff everywhere. You know, shop dust and dead bugs and screws and strip offs from wiring, you know, the usual stuff. So I vacuumed it out, and then I went through and sprayed some of this on there and used a microfiber and wiped all back there and all this out and over the Dynamat and everything. Now the Dynamat looks pretty nice again because it was kind of dull and just dingy looking from all the dust that was stuck to it. So now I need to go in the house and get the other 2 pieces of Dynamat that go in the front floorboards. I'd never put those in. So this is a kit that you buy that is for these cars. So the kit, I don't know the price of it or anything. Steve already had this. But anyway, it comes with pre-cut pieces that you put in. And this is kind of what you get with a pre-cut set. It's not really long enough to completely touch, and it doesn't touch on this end either, so the pieces need to be a lot longer. So my advice would be to get Dynamat by the sheets and put them in and cut it yourself. I did my whole floorboard, every little square inch is all covered in that, and save your cutoffs when you're doing that. Like these little areas, you might have little cutoffs because you can always stuff them somewhere. You can put them over holes in the body. You can do all kinds of stuff with the cutoffs. And I did my entire roof, all of it, the underneath of that, completely covered with Dynamat. And I used cutoffs for like ends and stuff like that. It looked like a patchwork quilt when I was done. But man, that made a world of difference doing that Dynamat. Because you get this compared to this, and this is why I think the car never gets really hot inside when it's sitting out in direct sunlight when you get in it. Pretty cool. I mean, that's what it's designed to do. It's heat and noise and all kinds of stuff, but anyway, I'm going to go in and clean up the other 2 pieces, get them installed, and then I'm going to start laying carpet. Well guys, I hate to say it, but my favorite all-time carpet has changed from the way it's always been. This is Auto Custom Carpets. ACC is the brand name, and this was always my favorite preferred carpet kit. Now this is the one-piece kit. Back in the, I think it was late 2000s or something, no, early 2000s, I bought a carpet set for a Tri-5 Chevy, and it was 2-piece, and it was seamed like right in the middle. But there was an area that was notched out, and there was nothing there. So when you put it in the car, you had raw floorboards up here in the middle that your bench seat would cover. So then the next time I got a carpet kit that was a full carpet kit, but it was still 2-piece, and it had a little seamed edge with a little binding on it. It just, when you open the door, you always saw it, and it just to me looked cheesy. So I started getting the 1-piece set. Now, everybody's different, but I prefer this cut pile carpet like this. And the reason is it's easier to vacuum out. And this has jute stuff all over it. This will look amazing when it's vacuumed, but this is easy to vacuum. You know, the loop carpet stuff, it always gets stuff stuck in it. The Daytona weave carpet, I have never bought a set. It's always been out of my price range, just too expensive. But from looking at this carpet kit, I mean, it's molded. Now I've got it out here in the sun to get hot, but this is a lot thinner than what it used to be. I have a set out there in my shed for my wife's 4-door, and it's thicker than this. So to cut costs but charge more, this is what you're getting nowadays, I guess. But I will say this is going to be a lot easier to form to the floorboard, because I'll have to go in here with a heat gun and, you know, heat places up to get it to contour better. So this might actually be better. If you're going to Dynamat your car, it's just fine. But if you're just putting carpet in there with what jute's on the bottom of it, you know, it's a little bit thinner, so you're probably not going to get as much noise control. However, I'll know more once I get it in the car. But what I thought was crazy, when I pulled it out of the box, there's no jute on the bottom of this. They always had the jute glued to the bottom of this, the jute padding. So in the bottom of the box, after I pulled this out, was the jute folded up in the bottom of the box. So I don't know if they're trying to save money on not gluing this in, or if the person that was packaging it just decided to, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to glue that on. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Now, these are pre-cut to the floor. You can see the way they're cut out. I will say, for this application, I'm happy that this came this way. However, this is also thinner than what it used to be. It was almost double the thickness, if I remember right. I'll have to for sure go out and look at my wife's carpet set, but I'm pretty sure that jute was a lot thicker than that. But again, having this off the car is great for me on Steve's car. And the reason is I have to cut the jute out and not the carpet. So I was going to have to try to cut jute off the back of the carpet with it already glued to the bottom of it. Now I don't have to. I can fit the jute up in here and spray glue it down, and then cut out around my thing and then lay the carpet in there. So in a way, I'm kind of glad, but it's kind of a shame that the jute's not as thick as it used to be. And again, I could be all wrong on that, but I'm going off my memory, but it seems like this stuff was double the thickness of this. It seemed like it was about that thick. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're Dynamatting your car, or kill mat, or whatever, boom mat, whatever you're putting in there. You know, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is going to work just fine, because this car is Dynamatted. All right, so setting the jute up in the car. I got to do a little bit of trimming and a little work here. So I noticed on this piece it is cut out like this. I didn't cut this yet. This is the way it came. So anyway, when you get to looking at this, it has a wide cutout here on this part, but it's not as deep on that side. And then there's also a notch in it here. So this part here is for your dimmer switch, and this little square here is for your gas pedal. So this has to be fit up just like that, and it ain't gonna fit. There we go. Now it fits. I'm gonna have to trim a lot off on the sides though. I decided to do the carpet because I'm tired of laying on this Dynamat, because it's getting all over my clothes. Coming out the edges, and it's getting black goopy crap all over my clothes. So I'm going to go ahead and put the carpet in it, and then I can lay on the carpet to wire the car, and it'll be nice and comfortable. So I'll just take my shoes on and off when I climb in and out and stuff. That's the way I did my car anyway. So this is about where I want this. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to spray glue the toe board area right there, and then stick that, and then I'll just kind of work it in sections. I'm using my favorite, which is High Strength 90 by 3M. This stuff is awesome. It's like 20 something bucks at Lowe's. And to me, this is the best. I've tried all of them from Walmart that are on the shelf, unless they have different ones now, like the Super 77 and all that kind of crap. That stuff ain't worth a flip compared to this. This stuff is awesome. And that's why you find this probably at Lowe's and not Walmart. But I don't know if it's the higher the number, the stronger it is. I really don't know. But to me, this is my favorite. You can spray glue door panels, wrap the material around the back, and it'll stay even when you leave your car out in the sun. Like I leave my black car in the sun, and everything's still stuck. So this is what I'm going to use. So that's where I want that. Now, just like any spray glue, you don't just spray one side, you have to spray both. It's called contact adhesive, and that means when it comes in contact with itself, it sticks. So don't just spray one side. And it doesn't need a ton of it, doesn't need it over all of it. It just needed enough to stick it and hold it in place while I work the rest of it. So I'm not going to worry about doing every little square inch of it. But you want to let it tack a second. It's 101 or 102 degrees today, so it is super hot in this garage. I don't have a window or a door out here, and there's no airflow in here at all. So everything like this is probably ready to go already because it's so hot. So just like that. That's where the notch is for the gas pedal, in which probably I need to trim it out just a little bit more. It could have went over a little bit more, but it'll work where it's at, I guess. Don't ever stick it immediately. Let it tack for at least, a little bit. At least 30 seconds in this kind of heat, I will say. I think in the directions it says to do it longer, but I don't think it specifies if it's 102 degrees outside, wait this long, you know what I mean? Dynamat stuff on my shoes too. I hate this stuff. I love what it does, I just hate working with it. Well, that's awesome. It's way too long. Fantastic. That's way too long. Wow. That's a good. That's probably 3 inches too long. That's not good. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut it down the middle. It'll be easier for me to cut out the square because I can do it half at a time. And then I'll just butt it up perfectly and glue it all together. That's the only thing I can do, man. They cut it too wide. Okay, it's way too wide. Look at all that extra up there. That's a good 3 inches too long. This will work out better anyway because I'll get to cut out really nice around the shifter riser I built. Let's get this out of the equation. Actually, I'm going to set on this. Get off that Dynamat crap. Alright guys, so O'Reilly's called and they have a part in that they ordered for me. So it's about, I don't know, 3:20, 3:15ish. So by the time I get down there and get back, it's going to be close to 5, so I think I'm going to be done. Today is my anniversary, so I guess I'll just pick this up again later. But, you know, I've got this side pretty much fit, except up here in this corner edge right here, but I had to cut that, and I had to cut around the shifter, and I got a couple of glue spots on that tunnel part. But anyway, then I'll have to go back and do this one, and then I got to do the rear one, and then I got to set the carpet in and figure out where it goes, where all the holes are underneath it. Basically, that's why I put the bolts. Well, I still got to dig the bolts out for that, but I needed to actually put a bolt, see if a bolt will even start in that. But that is enough for today. Thanks for watching.